Hi everybody. We decided to make a short video here about our Hookah system because of the increased popularity of its use in metal detecting.
We're going to take time to talk about the engine components, compressor, all the hoses, exposure gear, safety equipment, and everything to make your metal detecting enjoyable and safe.
I'm going to talk about some of the components involved in the Hookah system, what's involved, the major components and minor components. First thing we're going to start with is the motor. The motor that we chose was a 3 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. We chose this size of a motor because anything larger was really not necessary for what we're doing. It's got terrific fuel economy. We run the motor at idle speed only. The motor will last forever, run under these conditions. Like I said, fuel economy is great, and Briggs & Stratton have been around a long time.
Next, talk about the compressor here. This is a Keen 263 model. It's a high output, industrial, Teflon pistons. It's 5 CFM at 40 PSI. It's got a pressure relief valve, and we've mounted the air intake up high to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. It's good to keep those up as high as possible to prevent that.
Next component is the reserve tank or air tank. A lot of systems don't use this feature, but we decided to include it from a safety aspect. Should the motor stop on you underwater, this reserve tank will give you enough air for 2 divers to breathe for probably 2 minutes. That's how much air that this system contains. On the output side of the tank, we've installed a pressure regulator. We can control the pressure of air going down to the divers, and also 2 air filters employing 5 micron elements to remove any moisture and no chance of contamination. We don't want to be breathing any foreign particles or moisture, and from a health aspect, the lower the micron rating, the better it is.
Next, we'll have a look at the frame here itself that we've mounted on. This is a heavy-duty aluminum frame that we've made up to mount everything to. We've tried to keep all the components on the inside of the frame so nothing really gets banged or hung up on anything. And then we've set this on top of a float. This is just used behind boats and that for towing. We find that it works pretty good. It's got handles on it. We can fasten it to. It separates easy from the frame for transportation. Next, we're going to talk about the breathing part of this. We've used 2 50-foot air breathing hoses. They're rated for 250 PSI. This is breathing hose. You don't want to use compressor hose or garden hose or any other kind of hose. You want to use something that's made for breathing. Next, we've got the Sherwood low pressure regulator. This is different than a scuba diving regulator. It works at low pressure. Again, it's made for this purpose, for hookah diving and low pressure. So you want to use the proper stuff. At the other end, where it connects to the regulator, we've got the mounting harness here, and it's mounted on a plate. That keeps everything on your back there and secure. You know where your regulator is at all times. And it's also got a one-way check valve should there ever be a leak. You won't get any water coming the other way.
Next component that we're going to talk about, and this is a personal safety feature, is your BC. This is a horse collar type of BC. Uses the same features as a scuba BC with a buoyancy control valve. It's got a nice pocket in the front for fines or whatever you decide that you want to use it for. It's also got an emergency CO2 inflator, so should you get in trouble, you can always pull on the CO2 inflator to get you to the surface as quickly as possible. Nice handy little lightweight unit, perfect for hookah diving.
Now we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about the safety equipment, exposure suits, and everything else that goes along with the hookah diving. First, we'll look at the suits here. There's all different types of suits. Most of the time in the summertime we're wearing just a shorty suit, 3 mil. That's usually efficient enough. The colder months you can go into a dry suit. This is a full Gates commercial diving dry suit. It's got all the seals. You can put dry gloves on it. thermal underwear for comfortable diving in the winter months. And then in between you can go with 7 mil Farmer John style that just between the hot and the cold season you can wear that.
Next piece we have is your mask. Most important thing about the mask is that it fits comfortably. It's got to be face forming, has to be adjusted so that it's not too tight, yet tight enough to prevent any water from seeping in. Also, it's a good idea to use an anti-fog gel on the lens before you dive with it.
Another good safety device to bring along with you is spare air. This is just a miniature scuba diving air cylinder with a regulator built onto it. You charge it off of a scuba tank. It gives you enough breathing to get you out of most problems. It's a good thing to carry along just in case you lose your regulator. You can grab this, you can mount it to your BC or on your weight belt, and it's always there for you.
Talking about weight belts, this is the model that we're using here. Any model would be fine, but this is just the one that we use. This has got the pockets attached to the belt. Depending on the buoyancy, will dictate how much weight that you're going to have to add to the belt to keep you down. You don't want to be too light. It's too much of a struggle to try to detect with not enough weight.
When working at deeper depths, sometimes we bring along our computers or dive computers. It's good to have. You can monitor your bottom time, temperature, your depth. You know how long your Hookah system runs. You can judge, when you should come up, and you won't run into any engine shutdown problems, and you can always keep track of where you are.
Next thing we have here is the dive knife. These are handy, almost a necessity for removal of fishing line, anchor ropes. This little device can save your life by removing a hook from a fisherman who's not aware that you're diving. Very handy and almost required piece of safety equipment. Well folks, this wraps up our little presentation on what's required if you want to get into metal detecting with a hookah, and we hope we've explained a little bit of what's required and what you guys can do at home to start on your own.
It's also a good idea to be certified in diving when doing this, or read up on it, maybe take a beginner's course, and just be safe. We look forward to your comments and feedback and any questions you might have.